Hey y'all, and welcome to another video of My Creative Life with Kel Sweetie, where we read books, where we do DIYs, crafts, and art, and whatever our creative hearts desire. Today we are going to be talking about my October TBR. I'm so excited for this because really for any horror, thriller, mystery reader, this is our time to shine. This is our time of year where people want the book recommendations, where us talking about some cannibal homicide isn't crazy, but actually interesting and get you in the spooky season mood. And I'm just super excited to tell you guys what I have planned for my October TBR this year. I have literally been reading purposefully anything that isn't super horror or sci-fi or anything like that in an effort to hoard up anything that would be good for spooky season. So I'm kind of sitting in a drought right now. I am reading a romance novel as a way to cleanse my palate, and I'm just hoping that there is no book slumps or like anything lower than a 4-star. I really just can't take it this year. So let's get into my list of October TBR books for this season. Like I said before, this time of year for any horror or thriller genre reader is really our time to shine. This is our favorite time of year because honestly the books that we read year-round are finally in style with the rest of the readers, and it just feels like you can kind of be the one who's like, yeah, I know my way around here. Here's some recommendations. Here's some real recommendations to get you in the spooky season spirit. And it just feels like also bookstores are always putting all of their horror genre and thriller genre books to the forefront during this time of year. So it's so much easier to find a good read and everything. And I'm really excited because this year I will actually be having a buddy read for this upcoming October season, and it will be with Roxanne from Buy Bun, who has started reading and she is just devouring books. I'm actually very much afraid that I won't be able to keep up, especially since this book I'm about to talk about is not available for 13 weeks on Libby for an audiobook. It will have to be a physical read, which is always a concern of mine. As you all know, I am an audiobook reader, mainly because of time. My eyes are busy doing tons of other things, and I still want to get my book reads in, so audiobooks step it. Now, since this is going to be a physical read, that means I'm going to have to start scheduling time maybe. I might have to even start reading a little bit earlier. I don't know. But Roxanne, if you're watching this, just know I'm a little scared that I will not be able to keep up. But I am excited to read this book with you, and that will be Rouge. I'm really excited for this one. It is a new novel by Mona Awad, who, if you don't know who she is, she was the one who wrote Bunny, which was the big book talk book of like last year or like the beginning of this year, which is also, I read Bunny. It ended up being a hit that started out as a miss. So I got around 50% through Bunny, and it was written well, but it was just a lot of world building. And at one point I was just like, how long is this going to take? Like, I just want to get to the good stuff. And I swear after I got past that 50, it was just go, go, go. As soon as I got past it. Now, did I DNF it before I got to after that 50? Yes, I did put that book down for like 2 months, and then I picked it back up. And it was amazing. I ended up recommending it to other people. It actually ended up being a recommendation to Roxanne. It ended up being one of her favorite books of the year so far. So I'm worried about Mona's newest book. It seems interesting, but I am concerned on whether or not I'm really going to, whether it's going to be a hit or a miss. I'm going to read the synopsis on why I really think it may be a hit, and then speak about my concerns on why I think it may be a miss. So let's get into that. For as long as she can remember, Belle has been insidiously obsessed with skin and skincare videos. When her estranged mother, Noelle, mysteriously dies, Belle finds herself back in Southern California, dealing with her mother's considerable debts and grappling with lingering questions about her death. The stakes escalate when a strange woman in red appears at the funeral, offering a tantalizing clue about her mother's demise, followed by a cryptic video about a transformative spa experience. With the help of a pair of red shoes, Belle is lured into the bar embrace of La Maison de Mesdouce. I do not speak French, so that was butchered. The same lavish, culty spa to which her mother was devoted. There, Belle discovers the frightening secret behind her and her mother's obsession with the mirror and the great shimmering depths and demons that lurk on the other side of the glass. Snow White meets Eyes Wide Shut and this surreal descent into the dark side of beauty, envy, grief, and the complicated love between mothers and daughters. With black humor and seductive horror, Rouge explores the cult-like nature of the beauty industry as well as the danger of internalizing its pitiless gaze. Brimming with California sunshine and blood-red rose petals, Rouge holds up a warped mirror to our relationship with mortality, our collective fixation with services, and the wondrous deep longing that might lie beneath. I am excited because it's about mother-daughter relationships. I love a book about mother-daughter relationships, especially a thriller horror that is about mother-daughter relationships. I just finished The Push, and I gave that 5 stars. It's really amazing. Look out for my September wrap-up for more on that. But I love a good mother-daughter relationship tale. And I love that this one is in the idea or like the backdrop of LA and culty spa treatments and makeup treatments and health treatments and stuff. I love that idea. I'm really like obsessed with what the plot is. That is where I think it'll be a hit. Here's where I think it'll be a miss. It is almost 400 pages. And one thing I've talked about pretty openly, I feel like, is I love a good 300 to 350 page book. I feel like anything past that, we may be getting too wordy. Fourth Wing, and Babel, although amazing books that I read, if I was reading them physically, it might have been a hard time. Because there are parts of it where I was like, we could have cut some of these out. You know, get rid of your darlings, as they say. And which is funny because that's a reference to Bunny. Yeah, I'm just concerned that there will be a lot of world building in this book before we really get to the good stuff, just like how Bunny was. Because I don't know if I think that this is a 400-page plot. I don't know. I want to be proven wrong because this is going to be a physical read and I don't want it to be a hard one. So we will see. But I'm really excited to read this. This is going to be my first read of October since we're going to start on October 1st buddy reading this. And we'll see how much I get through. The second book on my TBR list is The Loop. I chose this book. I've not heard a lot of people talk about it, or maybe I'm just not in the part of booktube that is talking about it, but I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, and I wanted to be sure. A lot of my books on my TBR are either new releases that I've heard some people speaking about reading, or, you know, the next one we're reading is kind of like a big book talk, booktube like recommendation that's been going around lately. And I was at Barnes & Noble and I saw this on their like buy one get one half off table and thought that this looked really good. It was a good size, about 300 pages, and I just think that, like, the synopsis sounded really good. A small town nestled in the hills of Central Oregon becomes the epicenter of an epidemic of violence when the teenage children of several executives from the local biotech firm become ill and aggressively murderous. Suddenly, the town is on edge, and everyone must do everything it takes just to survive the night in this heart-racing thriller about a science experiment gone wrong. That sounds amazing to me. It sounds kind of like this Evil Dead science-like experiment type situation. And like I said, it doesn't seem like a long read, which we love. And it sounds like a sci-fi. I love a sci-fi, like, thriller, almost horror novel. I know, like, those 3 genres. I want to question whether or not I'm reading those 3 genres. I love a book that combines all those genres. A book like The Thing Between Us, which I read last year or earlier this year. I don't know. All the books are running together. That combined all 3 of them. But I love when like all 3 of those genres are combined. I think this book is going to do just that. I was excited about it, and then today I was kind of looking up some of the like, not the actual reviews, but just like looking it up on Goodreads. And I saw how high it was rated, and I was just like, why are more people talking about it? Maybe I missed the boat. Like, I think it came out 2021, so I might have missed the boat on when people were really reading this. But I am excited. And I think I'm going to put this one right after Rouge because it's going to be like a palate cleanser for the next one, I think, based off of like their synopsises. synopses. Yeah, synopses. I think it's synopses. So yeah, this is my second one on the list. My third book on my TBR is one that I think everybody might be tired of hearing of, and that is Dead 11 by Jimmy Juliano. I feel like the reason I'm excited to read it though is to really see where I'll land on it. I feel like there's been a lot of mid reviews on it. And that a lot of people love it because of this fantastic cover, which, let's take that in. Look at that. It's a great cover. It's a great cover. It makes you pick up the book, because if you didn't have that cover, the nearly 400, what is this? Is it 400? No, nearly 450 page book might scare you. Which I'm concerned about. It does have an R.L. Stine quote on the front of it, which is encouraging, but I've heard that it's not a bad book, but it's also not a great book. And again, that's a concern of mine, because I've been in a reading slump, so I think I'm looking for a lot of 4- and 5-star books right now to really pull me out of that, because I would hate to go into the end of the year with a reading slump. On a creepy island where everyone has a strange obsession with the year 1994, a newcomer arrives hoping to learn the truth about her son's death. Clifford Island. When Willowstone finds these words written on the floor of her deceased son's bedroom, she's perplexed. She's never heard of it before, but soon learns it's a tiny island off Wisconsin's Door County Peninsula, 200 miles from Willow's home. Why would her son write this on her floor? Hoping to find answers, Willow sets out for the island. After a few days on Clifford, Willow realizes this place is not normal. Everyone seems to be stuck in 1994, they wear outdated clothing, avoid modern technology, perhaps most mystifyingly, watch the O.J. Simpson car chase every evening. When she asks questions, people are evasive, but she learns one night, close your curtains at night. High schooler Lily Becker has lived on Clifford her entire life, and she is sick of the island's twisted mythology and adhering to the rules. She's been to the mainland and everyone is normal there, so why is Clifford so weird? Lily vows to prove that the islanders' beliefs are sham, but are they? Then Willow disappears. Her brother Harper comes to Clifford to look for her, and when he learns the truth, that the island is far more sinister than anyone could have imagined, he is determined to blow the whole thing open if he can get out alive. I think the idea of people stuck in 1994 is interesting. I have a feeling that it's going to be a cult. But I also have a feeling from reviews, I've not heard anybody say that it's a cult. So I'm also, are there actual monsters on this island? I don't know. I'm interested for the nostalgia. I think that's what's pulling me in. I'm a little worried about how much of this is going to be a horror. It's going to be more of a cozy thriller, which I am concerned about because I don't know if it's going to be like boring. I'm concerned about that. I feel like a lot of people have been putting it in the very middle of the road because of the nostalgia's hitting, but the horror of the thriller isn't. And that is my concern going into this book. I have it as my third book because the next book that I'm about to talk about, I feel like it's going to be maybe a 4 or 5 star, so it'll pull me right back out of that reading slump that this one may put me in. I'm planning ahead because I cannot go into November with a reading slump. Third book on my reading list. The last book on my official TBR, and I say that for what I'm about to say after this book, is The Chain. So I feel like last year this got a lot of hype and that it was getting a lot of great reviews. And I just hadn't gotten around to reading it. It was on like my Goodreads never-ending TBR list. And again, this was on one of those buy one, get one half off tables at Barnes & Noble. And I thought, this should be good to read for October. So I picked it up. It's a good sized book. We're hitting around 300 pages. It's gotten a really good review. You just dropped off your child at the bus stop. A panicked stranger calls your phone. Your child has been kidnapped. The stranger then explains that their child has also been kidnapped by a completely different stranger. The only way to get your child back is to kidnap another child. You are now a part of the chain. So it's basically a deadly piece of chainmail. It's deadly chainmail. I love that. I love the idea. Again, another parent horror. But with that type of like synopsis, okay, somebody just got their child stolen. So either this is a story of them like going to the cops and it not working, because that's my other thing is like, I guess this is what I find interesting about that type of plot. If that was to happen to you, Do you then go, I'm going to go to the cops, but then you are concerned on if you'll ever get your child back? Or do you go, you know what, forget the cops, I'll go to the cops after I get my child back, so I'm going to kidnap another child in order to get this child back? And at what's really holding people back from going, oh, we're just all going to go to the cops? You know? Like, who started it off that was so out of the way, like, scary that, you know, I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but I'm just kind of like, in a plot like that, at what point are people just like, no, I'm not gonna do that? And does somebody do that? And then it's like, okay, I warned you, and now there's a toe in the mail, you know, type of thing? I don't know. Now, maybe that's where we're getting 300 pages from. With that synopsis alone, it's enough, I think, to pique your interest, but it's not enough to really tell you what's gonna go on. Again, this book has gotten a ton of good reviews from, like, booktubers that I've listened to. Like, I think I had heard that Ashley's Little Library here on YouTube, I really trust her horror and thriller recommendations, so you should go check her out if you haven't. But I think that she read this book and I saw her good review on it, and I trusted hers, and I think that's when I put it on my TBR list like months ago and everything. So we will see. This is how I plan to end my October if, you know, I don't end early enough to go into the challenge that I've given myself that I'm about to talk about in a second. And I think that it will be like an interesting way to end it. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna stop reading any horror or anything like that. I mean, we all know that's not true because of what I read. But it'll just mean that, like, the season for it being seasonally appropriate will be over. So yeah, that's my last official book on my TBR. Okay, last on my list of books to read for October. Not officially on my TBR, it's not official, I may not even get to it, considering being realistic. But something that I have in the back of my mind is my Series of Unfortunate Events challenge that I gave myself last year. I had read all of the Harry Potter hardcover books last year. When I was a kid, I had only gotten through, I think, the third one, and then I, you know, loved the movies. And somehow just dropped. I think I just got too afraid of how thick the fourth one was. And my partner, being fantastic, got me a bouquet of books for Valentine's Day last year. And they were all of the Harry Potter books. And I ended up finishing them in like 2 months. I can confirm the books are better than the movies. Especially considering that woman has no idea what she wrote. She doesn't have a clue. Considering her politics, she has no idea what these books actually mean. She does not know what she wrote. I'm gonna quit right there. But I would just like to make that very clear. That being said, I am upset that I've read the books now because the movies don't make sense anymore. I have to kind of go, they live in their own lives. They live in their own lives. But I'm one of the people now who are like, well, these are just not giving a full explanation, and where are all these characters and all this other character development. I then decided, because I had such a great time reading the Harry Potter books, that I should read other books from my childhood that I either didn't get a chance to read or read back then and loved, and let's try it again to see how they kind of aged. And Series of Unfortunate Events is one of the books that I decided to read. The first 3 books were great. Now the last part of the third book had some transphobia that I'm not okay with, and somebody I was buddy reading with was also like, what the heck was that? That did not age well, did not need to be a part of the book, but I digress. And then we hit the 4th book, which was The Miserable Meal, and the children witness a grisly murder. One of them is hypnotized to try and do a murder. The youngest one is fighting in a sword fight with their teeth. It just doesn't make sense. Although now that I'm older, I understand the metaphors in these books, which has to do with like the idea that kids who aren't doing well at home or don't have good home lives, they're not gonna do well in like school or life or whatever because they're busy trying to survive and everything. I love that. Absolutely love it. Definitely see it in the books. Even with The Miserable Meal, it was like, yes, some kids have jobs. And also some kids have a parental like structure where one parent is abusive to both the second parent as well as the children, and the second parent can love them as much as they want and mean as well as they want, but if they can't stand up for themselves, they cannot stand up for the children. Love that idea. Love the idea that Mr. and or Sir, and I'm forgetting what the other person's name was at the moment. We're low-key in a queer relationship of some sort. Love that too. But it made no sense. And I don't know how it even got past the editors, to be honest with you, because that is not a middle grade book with the content that was in it. And I think that they told, I forget what his real name is, but Lemony Snicket that, and he was like, got you. Say less. They're now going to boarding school. And their biggest issue is that they're up all night with Count Olaf, you know, running laps. And so they can't pay attention in class. And so, yeah, those were such big stinkers that I got to the 6th book and I've not picked it up. I stopped reading, I think it was in May. I stopped reading the books and I went, I'm gonna pick that back up at some point. And it did not get picked back up. Especially since these are physical reads, because the audiobook is trash. If you've ever watched the movie, the narrator for that movie was fantastic. It really set the whole tone of the books very well, and he just sounded kind of like Lemony Snicket and everything. So to hear anybody else try and be the narrator for these books just doesn't sound right. These are small books. I should be moving through these, and that's exactly what I thought. There are 13 books. I should be knocking these out. They're, what, 250 with text this big? They're not even a full-size book. It just hasn't been good. But I have a challenge that I've given myself to finish these books, and I will finish them. I do not want 13 books just sitting here and I'm like, I haven't read them. It's gonna give me anxiety. It has given me anxiety, which is also why I have not finished them, because I feel like now it's just built up that I'm procrastinating on it. All that being said, if I finish my TBR early enough, I want to try and maybe have like a readathon or something where I knock out at least 2 or 3 books on this list so that I can get back on track or near track for me to finish them by the end of the year. If I sat down and just read for a day, like I did for Summerween, I really could just finish these. So we will see. If I finish my TBR, I will move into these. It's asking a lot out of me because I do have a lot on my plate. But I also feel like it's good for me to just kind of have this running tally in my mind of these books, because I've not. And the challenge that I gave myself has just been going by the wayside. And these are a lot of books. And I don't want they were a present. My partner also got me these for Christmas. And I just feel like I can finish them. One thing I will say, I really learned to love like art and illustrating and even drawing the way that I draw from Brett Hillquest. Brett Hillquest has been the illustrator for all of these books, and his work is really noticeable. And when I was a kid, I loved his work, and I actually learned how to draw from copying his work in these books. So I will say that art still looks great. I absolutely am in love with still having these books because of the art that is within them, and they're still just the art is still just so good from all these books. So I will say that. I'll say that all day about these. But I'm hoping that this one is just a tad bit more exciting, because the last 2 were either boring or made no sense. Okay, y'all, that is my entire list for October. That is my entire TBR. I'm hoping to get through 4 books. I know that I don't have a long TBR like some booktubers, but I have found that, in all honesty, with my work schedule and what I do, I can only get through 4 books routinely. And I'm hoping that I get through these, and there's some 4- and 5-star reads throughout the entire month. Like I said, I have been in a reading slump of some sort, and while I've been kind of pulling myself out of it, it's been a little slow. So I'm hoping that this really reinvigorates me for the end of the year, and I can even get at least 1 Series of Unfortunate Events book out of the way. Either way, I expect for it to be a great and fun season, no matter what happens. I'm excited for some sci-fi, some thriller, some nostalgia. It looks like we got a couple of cults going on here. We got like 2 cult books in here. So it should be fun. If you want reviews throughout the month and you don't want to wait until my October wrap-up video in another month or so, then make sure you follow me on Instagram. I post one by one, like as I'm going along, reviews, book by book reviews, that's a better word for it, book by book reviews on my Instagram and Reels, so you can get a better idea of what I'm going to rate the books. It is shorter reviews and shorter information, but in case you want to pick it up, it does give you a little taste of what to expect. So follow me over there at KelsSweetie, and yeah, we'll see how this month goes. But until then, see you later. Bye.